guys, it's TheFrXion here, or TigerTank12, however you call me, I don't really care, and welcome back to World of Tanks. Today we have a gameplay in the AMX M449, but it's not going to be at the foreground, or it's not going to be the main aspect of this video. You can see we're top tier, and this tank certainly is a really nice tier A premium heavy tank, one of the best. If I can say so myself. You can see I have 2 marks on it. I really enjoy this vehicle. I don't play it nearly as often as I maybe should, but yeah, always a fun time when I take this bad boy out, because these French heavy tanks with armor are actually a lot of fun, and this is certainly one of the tier 8 premium tanks that is a lot of fun to play and very rewarding as well. But that is not the main point of today's video. Today we're going to be talking about the 5 things that, in my opinion, are going to be the main focus, or should be the main focus, for Wargaming for the year 2021 to get the game back on track. Okay, I would not say that the game is that the game is dying or anything like that. We don't go that far. We're not going to be talking about the player count, anything like that. But I think it's clear to see that we're at a point at this game, or at a point of the life of this game, where it's going to be very important to see which direction it will head into. Because certainly if it goes into the wrong direction, this game might just get a bit of severe backlash from the old player base. So let's get right into the points before we skip the entirety of this video. What I think is going to be the most pressing change for this is going to be the premium shell rebalancing that Wargaming have already announced. And I think this is going to be super important, because at the moment in World of Tanks, the premium shell spam is something that I have not seen in any other game. It has never been as worse as it is right now. And I mean, for good reason. People are using premium shells because the premium shells are just better than the standard shells. And if you have the economy, if you have the credits, it doesn't really matter, because you can still just get enough credits by playing premium tanks and just spam as many gold shells as you want, and don't have to, be worried about your economy in the game. But I think that needs to be overworked. The premium shells kind of completely reduce certain vehicles, they reduce certain vehicle types, and they just generally take away from the skill aspect that this game once used to have and just doesn't have anymore, because anything, even at tier 8, can go through a tier 10 vehicle. So yeah, why even have armor if you have every kind of opportunity to go through that armor without even having to try to aim for the right spot? So I think the premium shell rebalancing is going to be a priority, and should be a priority for this game, because it really is going to decide if this game is going to go further or not. The next thing is going to be intertwined with that, and it's the fact that they need to bring back weak spots for certain tanks, certain classes especially. The super heavy vehicles, they need to have weak spots. Not having weak spots on these super heavy tanks just doesn't make any sense. Especially on the reward tanks. I own certain reward tanks, and I think that these reward tanks need to be balanced accordingly to other tier 10 vehicles. I know they need to be special, but it doesn't have to be that they're going to be special in the sense that they're just a lot better than every other vehicle. I think that's going to be very important as well, to bring back weak spots, get the people back to the ways of learning the weak spots, playing the game how it's supposed to be played, knowing where to shoot, and I think that's going to be really important. Next is the artillery rework, and I think the artillery rework is something that is really important, because if you're now playing World of Tanks and you're going up against, let's say, 3 artillery pieces on the enemy team, all these standard tanks are going to have a really bad time, because the 3 artillery pieces will start focusing up on certain vehicles, and it's just not enjoyable. Now, those kind of games, they happen from time to time. They are not constantly, but I think that artillery is just not rewarding enough to play. I think people need to be challenged more when they're playing artillery, and those changes that Wargaming have already announced, they do look pretty damn good, if I may say myself. because these changes certainly are needed for the artillery class. Next up, I think the wheeled tanks need to be addressed. They need to have an overhaul, because at the moment the EBR 105 is kind of ridiculous. It is ruining the tier 10 light tank experience. A lot of the other light tanks are kind of useless. They are not powerful enough to go up against the EBR. Once you get spotted, and you do get spotted very quickly, you most of the time just can't do anything, and that's why the wheel tanks need to be reworked completely, every single one of them, especially the higher tier ones. And the last point that I'm going to be mentioning in this video is that they need to make these events return back to the old formula of not just being pure grind events. I think that none of the people really enjoy these pure grinding events. They want to have events that are fun, that have some kind of, you know, content, and that are special because Wargaming have put some kind of thought and love into it. And I think that we're just going to pause it real fast right here. And I just think it's kind of ridiculous that all of these events have turned into massive grinding events where they are trying to monetize to the maximum in these certain stages. And I just don't understand how Wargaming, the company, doesn't get that it's not fun to play the same mode 500 times over and over again to get like a measly reward of, I don't know, maybe a skin or a 3D style. But, you know, us World of Tanks players, the really dedicated bunch, we're going to do it, we're going to play it, and we're not going to be enjoying it. And I think it's just going to be alienating even more players in that sense. Yeah, that pretty much brings me to the end of this list. We're just going to be addressing or talking about 2-3 more quick mentions that I think should be also in the category. At least they should be considered, and I think that matchmaking is a very difficult issue that needs a little bit of tweaking, because at the moment there are a lot of games where you get steamrolled very quickly. Like just this game just lasted about 6 minutes. The games kind of tend to last only about 5 to 6, 7 minutes. A lot of times you cannot really do a lot of damage in those games. That's mainly just because, well, maybe it's a lot of factors involved with skill and with maybe the tank combinations. But I think it needs to be reworked as well. Maybe they can look into it and see if they can add a little bit of a skillful matchmaking into the game by taking a look at the Wargaming rating. If they have already introduced it, why not use it? And I think for a game that is 10 years old and that still relies on servers, you know, on all these different servers, on all the different regions, why are they not making it available for all the players to just be able to server hop? If you're living in Europe or somewhere else and maybe you've just moved and all that kind of stuff, give us the option to switch our account onto another server and play from there. Why do they have to make it this difficult? And yeah, the last thing is, I think, not the most important thing, but maybe they should just make the rewards better for new players, make it a bit more enjoyable for new players, and they have a lot of things that they could do there. For example, give them a little bit of protection, give them a PvE mode at the beginning. You know, they have a lot of options that they can do right there. But I think those are the most important points. We've got them covered all. I want to hear what you guys think about 2021. Do you think World of Tanks is going to take off even more? Because I think at the end of 2020, World of Tanks had a lot of active players, and the player base actually went up again, I think, a little bit. But 2021, it's really going to be important. It's going to be a decisive year in the development of this game, because I think we're not going to be getting a lot more tech trees. And if they can really balance this game out, maybe there's still some hope. But I'm just going to leave it at that, and just going to read your comments, and I see you guys on the next video.